Okay, so today we are talking about elimination. This is the third way of solving a system. Now we're just doing the intro part, so we're just, doing the beginning. But just in case you don't know, elimination, students said it means get rid of, it means to remove. And in math, though, what we're looking for is where it cancels out. Okay. So we have to get one of the variables, at least one, needs to cancel out, right? So that's where it makes zero. Okay, and when something makes zero, it's got the same number and opposite signs. So when I say opposite signs, I mean one is a positive and one is a negative. Okay, so for example, if we have 2x, to cancel it out, we would also need to have negative 2x, right? Those would eliminate. If we have negative 3y, then we would have to have positive 3y. So those would eliminate. Now, if it can't cancel, we distribute, right? Or we multiply to make it possible, okay? So you can do that. Adding and subtracting isn't going to work because adding and subtracting is more specific to like one portion. You don't add or subtract to change the whole thing. Yeah, there's probably smarter people out there who can explain it better. So after we are able to eliminate, we combine like terms going down. So we're going to start with level 1. We have negative 11x minus 8y equals 5. And then we have negative 12x plus 8y equals negative 28. Okay, so looking at this problem, right, we're looking for one of our variables to cancel. Well, these x's aren't going to cancel because they're two different numbers and they're both negative. But when I look at my 8's, right, I got negative 8y plus 8y. Now, if you're not sure, you can always double check. Negative 8 plus 8 cancels out. That makes it 0. So this is the one that actually will eliminate. Okay? And then what we do from here is we combine like terms going down, right? So we're going to combine the like terms here. Okay? So when I say combine like terms, you just do what you see. Negative 11 minus 12. That's what it looks like. We get negative 23. So we get negative 23x. I'm going to move it over just so it's near my equal sign, right? Because we eliminated. This guy's gone. We did the mathematical version of killing him off, right? So we're just going to bring that over. That guy's gone. So in this one, we do 5. It looks like 5 minus 28, so we do 5 minus 28. And that gives us negative 23. Right? And then from here, we see that our x, we can actually solve for it. And we get x equals 1. Okay, so we were able to eliminate and actually figure out x's number. All right. Now, in our next unit, in the next lesson, we will go through and talk about what we can do with this to figure out y's number, because it is a system, so that means you got to figure out both variables. But for right now, we're just focused on the can we eliminate and then solve. Now in this number 2 here, right, looking at this, right away I see my 12s can eliminate. And if you're not sure, you can always double check. 12, that makes 0, that's good. So we're trying to eliminate. And then my rest here, right, we're going to combine like terms going down for both of these. So we got 7 minus 11. I'm just showing you what you can do to use your calculator in case you're ever uncomfortable. Like obviously I can do this in my head, but I'm just showing you like in a calculator that you should either have on your phone, or if you got the Desmos one, like this is what you do to combine like terms. You do exactly what you see happening, right? I got 7 minus 11, I do that. It looks like 29 and a positive 23, I do that. Okay, we're not multiplying. Combining like terms is just really just adding. I divide that 4 and we get y equals negative 13. Okay? All right. So this one's the easy one because right away you can see that they're same number, opposite signs, totally can cancel, ready to go. This next one though is the one that trips up a lot of young people. All right. So they have the same sign, or the signs are the same, whatever you want to say. All right. We have 8x plus 10y equals negative 8, and then we have 6x plus 10y equals negative 26. This, right? This is close, the y's, right? It's 10y and 10y. However, we need one to be a negative, okay? So that is where if it can't cancel, we have to distribute or multiply to make it happen. So what can I multiply a 10 by to make it happen? Now, it doesn't matter which of the two you want to multiply. Whatever one makes you the most happy. I am pretty flexible either way. I like to do the top one. Personally, I don't know. It doesn't matter though. I'll do both. So if I want to make this 10 a negative, I have to multiply by a negative 1. That is just, you gotta know your mathematical stuff. So I'm going to distribute that all the way through. So when I distribute that, I should have done this in a different color. We got negative 8x minus 10y equals, and we even distribute all the way over here. Everybody forgets that one too. Equals that positive 8. My other problem, so now I got a negative 10y, which is what I want, so that these can eliminate. So all I have to do is bring over the one I didn't mess with so that they line back up, and I can do my elimination and then combine like terms going down. Okay, so now this can eliminate because now they are the same number with different signs, right? If I added negative 10 and 10, I would get that 0. Here, 10 plus 10 is 20. That ain't gonna work. Okay, so I combine like these. These are negative 2x. I'm gonna bring them over though, since we did kind of mathematically murder him off. So I'm gonna bring this over. And then this gives me negative 16, 18. And then what we can do, now that we have it, is divide by negative 2. And we get x equals 9. Okay, so in this next problem, right, we have what we got going on. Now notice the y's aren't really that close, but the x's here, these are close, right? But right now it's 2x and 2x. So right now if I combine them, it would make 4x, which is not what I want. So what we're going to do is we have to force this to become negative. And to do that, we won't add or subtract. What we want to do is multiply. All right? Because if we add or subtract, that means we would have to add everything with an x, and we don't want that. Therefore, what we want to do is multiply, and like in the previous problem, it doesn't matter if you do top or bottom, but I'm going to choose the top. If you choose the bottom, that's also fine. But I'm going to distribute that all the way through. And remember, you want to make sure you distribute it not just to the first one, but to every single piece, because if you don't, you're going to get some boo-boo answers. So negative 1 and 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 and y, well, I know there's a 1 in front of this, so I'm going to put a 1y for now, right? Just that invisible one. And then this is going to make 7. In this next problem, once again, we're going to bring this on over Red Rover. So everything is just copy and pasted down. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I am going to eliminate now, because we now have something that would make 0. And if you don't believe me, I think my handy dandy calculator is nearby. Right now, I got negative 2 plus 2 to give me that 0. Whereas before I had 2 plus 2, which does not give me 0, and the 0 is what I need. Alright, so with that being said, Negative 1x plus 2y is 1y. 7 minus 4, that's what this looks like, so that's what I'm going to do. 3, divide the way 1 if you need that, and that is okay. Then you still get the same answer, okay? Some people, they might not have to divide the 1 because they know 1y means the same as just y. I'm okay with that, as long as you know that, all right? However, if there's a negative, it is not the same. All right, number next. In this one, right, the one that's close is my y's. So I'm going to take my negative 1 and multiply it through because that's how I just changed a sign. So this gives me negative 12x plus 4y equals 12. I bring the other one just over. So I get 13x minus 4y equals negative 14. And again, this is going to cancel to make 0, so I know this is eliminating. And be careful with your y's. This one kind of looks close to an x, and if I was working too fast, I might have made a boo-boo here. So just be careful with that. All right, then I got negative 12 plus 13x. Well, that's 1x, so I'm just going to bring that over. 12 minus 14 is negative 2. Now, some of us know this is the final answer, but those of us that need that little last bit to help us out, there you go. All right, just make sure your x looks like an x and your y looks like a y. This is where that is going to be like really important. Last but not least, right, we have this next pair. If you want to pause to see if you can do this on your own, absolutely. If not, here we go. This one is close, right? We got negative 3x and negative 3x, but right now, together, that makes negative 6. That's not what we want. So we have to distribute, and again, it doesn't matter if you distribute to the top or bottom this negative 1. Choose the one that you love best. I just prefer to choose the top. Honestly, though, I kind of pick whichever one's going to give me something easy to work with in this next bit. But for today, we'll just stick with the top. All right, bring it over, Rover. Here we go. All right, my 3x's eliminate, right? We have 3 minus 3, which is 0. Then we have 2y minus 8y. That's negative 6y. And then negative 12 and 12, they also eliminate and make 0. But we can't leave one side of an equation blank. That's just not how it rolls, okay? So I'm going to put the 0 as a placeholder since it's all gone. Now, when I go through and do my math, I divide my negative 6. And some of us don't need to do this because we can do it in our brain. But if we can't, there it is, okay? The last one, the tough one of my classes every year, I always try to start with this one. We're going to make it cancel, okay? So this one requires some times tables, some thinking, and you got to know your times tables well, or else this is going to be a bit of a struggle bus, which is also fine. That's where you have your handy-dandy calculator. So with this one, these aren't even close, right? They're not even like this one before, where they were the same number and the same sign. We just had to do that. Not even close. Same with these. So this is where you got to know and you got to think. So I'm going to look at these y's here. All right, I got 5 and 6y. So what I need to do is I got to think about, is there any way I can multiply a 5 to become a 6? Now, many of you will probably know the answer off the top of your head. But for those of us that don't know our times tables as well, which is, again, totally fine. This is why we are so lucky to live in an age of calculators, right? 5 times 1 gives me 5. That doesn't work. 5 times 2 gives me 10. That doesn't work. It automatically jumped over 6 too many times. So this one's not going to work. Then we look at this one, right? We got 6, we got 3. Is there any way I can turn this smaller number 3 into a 6? Well, let's see. We got 3 times 2 times 2. That gives me 6. That's going to work. Okay, so before we continue, if we multiply just by 2, right, we saw we got a positive 6. And if we do that, we would have 6x and 6x. Well, 6 and 6 makes 12. That is not what we want. So what we need to do is we actually have to do 3 times negative 2 to give us negative 6. So that becomes, so when I distribute this, this becomes a negative 6. And we want that negative 6 to make our 0. Okay, so that means we have to also think about, we got to think a little bit in the future, right? We got to be a seer. We got to think about how is this going to work out to where we can actually eliminate. Okay, so that means I have to distribute this negative 2 so that this 3 becomes that negative 6 that I need. Okay, so in this one, it will matter who you use. You just have to pay attention where the smaller number that you are manipulating is occurring. All right, so I'm going to distribute all the way through. And yes, your distribution lines can be at the bottom. Isn't that crazy? All right, this is negative 42. My other equation I didn't mess with is 6x plus 5y equals 28. All right, this is the level 3 that we're going to do. There is another level, but if you can handle level 3, level 2 does, level 4, which we are not going to talk about, does occur, and it isn't as terrible as people sometimes make it seem. So we got negative 7y equals, I'm going to cheat and use my calculator because my brain is tired. Negative 14, I should have known that. Divide away that negative 7. We got y equals 2. Okay, next one. And I think this is the last, oh no, I was rude. I made a lot. All right, so in this one, none of these match, none of them are close. It doesn't matter which one you start with, okay? But I see I can turn a 7 into a 21. I know that because I know that 7 times 3 makes 21, okay? But if you didn't know that, right, you could use your calculator to help you out. Or some of us might even see this 3 turns into 12, which also works. So technically, you could use either your x or your y. I will use my x because I want to multiply by a smaller number. So I see if I multiply by a 3 here, that I will get 21. And I want it to be a positive 21 because this 21 above is negative, and I want them to be opposite to eliminate. Okay, now we could have also multiplied this equation by a 4 and we would have still done the work that we needed. I just, I like to multiply by the smaller number, right? Because, sometimes I don't trust my bigger number multiplying when I'm in the heat of the moment. Bring everything else over. Plus, I like to get rid of x's, right? Because they're just rude. They're x's for a reason. So, the x's eliminate. This brings down, we got negative 3y equals, pause for dramatic effect, negative 24. Yeah. Divide away negative 3 on both sides, and we get y equals 8. I keep finishing off with my red pen. Oh well. All right, so let's do this again. Same skills going on. What I want to do first is I want to give this x a 1. Now, again, you could kind of choose your own adventure here because there is a way to turn a 1 into a 5, but there's also a way to turn a 4 into an 8. I'm going to look at this one mostly because I want to multiply by a smaller number. Now, I will multiply the 4s, right? You could do the x's, right? You can multiply by 5 and you will get it. Like, yes, go for it. But I'm going to show you that you could also do it another way. So, because in this one I chose the x in my own adventure. This time I choose the y, because again I like to choose smaller numbers. So, I know 4 times 2 is going to give me 8. But right now I have a positive 8. And if I do 2 times 4 like this, it's still going to be positive. So and again, I got to think a little bit ahead. I got to make, a little bit of an intuitive leap here and think ahead about where I'm trying to get to. So this gives me negative 10x, negative 8y equals, oh goodness, maybe I should have done the other one, negative 38. All right, there it is. All right, bring it over, and you will get that 1x comes plus 8y equals a negative 25. Oh my. These guys eliminate. We bring this down to get 9x equals negative 63. Yeah, negative 63. Divide the negative 9 away. And you get x equals a positive 7. Right? If you would have started with the x's, when we get to full elimination, it doesn't matter which one you chose, because eventually you'll get both the x and the y number the same, as long as your math is a mathin'. All right, I got some more, because of course, why wouldn't I? All right, in this case, if you want to pause to see if you can handle this, the setup, see if you can figure out what you multiply by, absolutely. But in this case, I see that there's no way I can multiply 7 to become 10. Like, that's just a no-go. There is a way to multiply 12 to become 24, right? I can multiply by a 2. But if I do 2 times this negative 12, I'm still going to get negative 24, which is not what I want. I want to get that positive. So that means I got to multiply the negative with it so that I be getting that sign switched. So I can get that sign switched around. Man, I want you guys to know that my son loves to watch these videos, and he loves when I mess up my words. All right, so I distribute that all the way through. Bring this over. I got negative 10x minus 24y equals 38. All right, my y's can eliminate. And I combine like terms. Now, if some of you are like, Ms. R, what the heck do you mean by combining like terms? Well, let me show you. I got a negative 10 and a 14. So that means I got to do negative 10 plus 14. That gives me 4. But my calculator, this is not fancy enough to remember the x. So I, with my own beautiful brain, have to remember to bring over that x. And I'm going to bring it over to the side only because, like, I eliminated that guy. He don't need that spot anymore. So I'm gonna scoot over with my x's here. This gives me 52. Divide away the 4. And this gives me x equals 13. Okay? And if you don't believe me, right? It's always fun to be your own human calculator. It's a party trick, let me tell you. So, my next pair, see if you can pause and try it on your own, but I am going to get ready to start going through it. There's no way for me to turn an 8 into a 14, right? Because 8 times 2 is 16. Too big. Not going to work. However, my friend up top, this 3, I can turn into a 6. And see how this 6 is negative already? This 3 is already positive. This is the life right here. That means I just multiply by 2. Because then I get that positive 6 I need to eliminate, which is the goal. That's a S, not a 5. So we get 6x minus 2 times negative 14 is negative 28y. 2 times 9 is 18. There it is. Right? Some people like to add the little... I'm not about that. All right. So we get negative 6x plus 8y equals 42. All right. My 6's eliminate. Oop. There it is. Right? 6 minus 6, 0. Got it gone. Negative 28 plus 8. Oh, man, I don't know what that is, but thank goodness for technology. Negative 20, see? So if you ever are feeling in doubt about your mental skills, that's okay, as long as you know how to apply those skills. So 18 plus 42 is 60. Divide by negative 20. But once again, knowing your mental math is going to make you so much smarter than everybody else. 60 divided by negative 20 gives me negative 3. Next, we got 2 more. All right, here we go. Pause to see if you can handle this one on your own, but let's do it to it. All right, there's no way to nicely turn a 9 into a 12. Like, that's just not going to happen. But there is a nice way to turn this 8 into a 16. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by 2. Boop, boop, boop. And I only have to multiply by a positive 2 because this 8 is already negative. This 16 is already positive. So we got that going on. Bring it over. I'm going to go a little bit faster because I have this feeling that I'm feeling that my recording device has a battery that is about to die. And that would really make me mad. So 16s are set up to eliminate. this would give me 6y equals 18. Divide away the 6 so that we get y equals 3. Okay? Last one, best one. Pause to see if you can do it, but I'm going to get into it. Huh, that rhymed. All right. 4 doesn't turn into 14. No way. Because 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. So we skipped over 14. Don't even exist in the 4 realms. So that means I have to use the 2. 2 does definitely turn into this 10. I know it with a 5. However, if I think in the future, right, I would have negative 10 and negative 10. I don't want both of them to be negative. So that means I got to multiply with a negative 5 so that I make sure that I have a positive 10x and a negative 10x after I distribute. So when I do that, I get, let's see, this is going to be positive 10x because we just talked about it. Negative times a negative is positive again, so we get plus 20y. Negative times a positive is negative, and there it is. Bring my other one over. Negative 10, ooh, don't forget your signs. Negative 10x minus 14y equals 20. There it is. Next up, we eliminate the 10s. We get 6y equals, now again, these guys also eliminate and cancel out, but we can't leave the right side of an equation blank, or any side of an equation blank. So when everything, if or when anything eliminates all the way through and there's nothing left, you still got to leave your basic 0 in there, okay? I'm going to go through and divide that. Many of us can do that in our head, and if not, there's a calculator to help you. But there's your final answer. All right, so that's the intro to elimination. You'll probably see this more than anything else in many cases, but you still have these other ones that are either ready to go, where there's no distribution, you can just eliminate right away. Ones where you just have to change its sign. These are the most difficult, right? The ones like this, because you guys will see these and go, yes, it's ready, but it's not. But it's not, right? Because right now they're both positive. You need one to be negative. So just be careful. These level 2s make my students, as the kids say, crash out because they think they're doing it right, but they forgot to change the sign and multiply that -1. All right. Have a good day. Make good choices.